In a world plagued by magic, we see a boy fighting to survive, but he's not very lucky, and he's disabled in combat. Yet, this is just the beginning. Everything starts with Yoshihito, exactly the boy from the beginning, who says he's a normal human with a simple life and no big ambitions. Still, he dreams of getting married, finding a job that pays 200,000 yen, which is around $2,300, and if that's not asking too much, maybe buying a car, just living a chill life. Everything seems fine, but he tells us he has a problem. His parents left him a house, but he can't live in it because it's too far away, and he can't rent it out either since it's hard to reach. But this doesn't discourage him. He wants to find a job, so in his memories he shows us how it all started. At the beginning, he was on a bus, and he saw a pregnant woman. He gave up his seat for her, but during the ride, the bus moved a lot, making things uncomfortable for the people standing. And if that wasn't enough, when he tried to get off at his stop, they closed the doors right in his face. So, he starts running after the bus, but he can't catch it. Later, more calmly, he meets a girl handing out gynecology flyers. She's quite clever, and gives him all the flyers to finish her job. This makes the protagonist blush, and he decides to keep them. Once again, he starts running, and during his run, he bumps into Lily Ryu, but he doesn't give it much importance since he's apparently on his way to a job interview. And then comes the surprise because the place where he was supposed to work is under destruction. So, he leaves, and we return to the bench, where he falls asleep. Lily Ryu wakes him up. He apologizes and asks if she's the one he bumped into in the morning. She apologizes for hitting him with her suitcase. He says it's no problem. Lily Ryu tells him she woke him up because she wants to ask for directions and if he knows that place. He realizes that the address she's looking for is his house. Yoshihito asks why she wants to go there. Lily Ryu says she's been looking for it all day and hasn't been able to find it. She thought it'd be best to ask. Yoshihito thinks he still needs tenants, but how lucky is this girl to find exactly the owner of the house? He asks if she was looking all day. She says yes. He explains that she never would have found it because it's in Nijuku. Lily Ryu gets too close to him, saying it's Shinjuku. He tells her she's mistaken. She gets upset because they're written exactly the same. She asks that if he knows where that place is, can he take her? Yoshihito agrees to take her, but tells her it's really far and they'll arrive at night. He also tells her that he's the owner of the house. On the way to the house, Lily Ryu is impressed to know that he's the owner of the house. It's a coincidence that might be predestined. Yoshihito tells her if she's not worried that he might be a kidnapper, and if it didn't cross her mind that he was lying. She asks if he's a kidnapper and if he's going to eat her, like what if out of nowhere he bites her head off and nom nom nom. Yoshihito tells her no, and asks if she meant it literally. Lily Ryu says it's scary to be tricked. Yoshihito wonders how she survived if she believes things so easily. They arrive at an old village where the bus can't enter because the roads are too narrow. Yoshihito tells Lily Ryu they still have to walk more. On the way, she apologizes for being so absent-minded and notices that the place is deserted. Yoshihito tells her to walk quickly. It's not a dangerous place, but it is remote, and he advises her not to go out at night. Lily Ryu thanks him for being attentive and kind, but says she's not afraid of bad people. She's pretty strong and has defeated many bad guys on her own. Yoshihito tries to help her with her suitcase, but can't since there's something really heavy inside. Lily Ryu lifts it easily, and he asks if she's one of those who lift weights. They keep walking, and a wind blows that uncovers Lily Ryu's head. Yoshihito is shocked because he saw some wolf ears. She asks if something happened. He says it's nothing, and they keep walking. Lily Ryu senses the presence of a vampire named Vivien. Lily Ryu tells him to go to the house and she'll catch up later. He tells her no. Then she corners him, asking him to do what she says. He misunderstands things and tells her he's not interested in doing any of those things. She insists he should go because she has things to do. Yoshihito asks what kind of things, since he can't leave her alone in that dark place. Suddenly, it gets cold and smells weird. She tells him it's the smell of blood. She apologizes for getting him involved in that. Before he can ask what she means, Lily Ryu transforms and starts fighting with Vivien. She starts flying, and Lily Ryu tells her it's not fair to fight like that. She asks her to come down and fight face to face. Vivien laughs, says she's an adorable little dog, and disappears. She appears next to Yoshihito, asking him if he can escape on his own. Lily Ryu arrives and throws 2 bricks at her. Vivien manages to deflect 1 brick, but one hits and injures her right wing. Lily Ryu quickly approaches Yoshihito to see if he's okay. He asks what the hell she is. She avoids the question and says she better not rent the house and that he should go home soon. She picks up her suitcase and tells him not to tell anyone what just happened. He asks where she's going. Lily Ryu says under a bridge, since she can sleep anywhere. He tells her he can't just leave her like that since he has to pay her back for saving his life. Lily Ryu tells him that she's a lycanthrope, naturally an enemy of Vivien, so it's likely she'll come back. At Yoshihito's house, he tells her she'll be living there now. He asks if she brought her own futon. He says he could lend her his. But he has the impression that girls don't really like that. She says a futon wouldn't fit in her suitcase. He asks how long she'll be staying. She says she'll stay a long time. He shows her the room and tells her it's better if they rest since they're both tired. Lily Ryu asks if he's going to have experiments done on her. This leaves our protagonist confused. Yoshihito gets a call, but he's deeply asleep. The next day, Yoshihito wakes up to Lily Ryu's screams. She's terrified by a cat. His name is Sakate, and this confuses Lily Ryu. He explains he named him that because he always got in front of the TV, and he kept telling him Sakate, so that ended up being his name. Lily Ryu asks if she can turn on the TV. She wants to watch a documentary about wolves to see how her distant cousins behave. Yoshihito tries to turn it on without success, and goes to check if the antenna is in the right place. Suddenly, it gets really cold like that night, and bats come in through the window. Vivien appears, scaring the kitty. Vivien takes Yoshihito hostage and tells Lily Ryu she'd better go hunt rabbits. Lily Ryu calls her stupid because she doesn't know she can't catch rabbits. Vivien tells Yoshihito to run away, and that way she'll buy him some time. Vivien and Lily Ryu start fighting inside the house, throwing objects. Yoshihito tells them he'll charge them for everything they break. Vivien says she's doing all this with the intention of saving him. Lily Ryu says she's a liar. Yoshihito gets angry and asks if that's what saving his life is supposed to look like. He could have died. They both apologize, and Lily Ryu calls her a liar. She says she just wanted to suck his blood. Vivien says she just hides her identity, as her kind has done for years. Lily Ryu accuses her of following her, but Vivien says she only came there to rent a room. Yoshihito asks if she's really going to rent a room. Vivien says yes, and her stomach growls from hunger. They sit down together for breakfast, and Yoshihito asks if she can eat normal food. Vivien says yes. Humans nowadays have lots of toxins in their bodies, and she doesn't want indigestion from sucking dirty blood. She says she's of hematophagic nobility and can control her instincts. She asks not to be called a vampire, but Vivien. Yoshihito again asks if she came to rent a room, and she shows him the flyer. She says she's tired of living in cemeteries. He compares the flyers and sees that they're the same, so he says she can live there, but doesn't want them causing trouble. He promises not to tell anyone about the two of them. Vivien agrees, but Lily Ryu objects, saying she can't live with that winged rat. Vivien says she wouldn't want to live with that hairy beast either, and that no one would live in that dump if they had money. Yoshihito says it's not a dump, it's his house. Lily Ryu asks Vivien why she doesn't go live with her own kind. Vivien says it makes her angry to see how hematophages and other fantastic beings take advantage of humans. Lily Ryu asks what that has to do with anything, because she likes living with humans, to which Vivien replies that lycanthropes are always deceiving humans. Vivien doesn't know how she managed to get him to rent her a room. She also says that if she had been in good condition, she wouldn't have been defeated by her. Vivien says lycanthrope claws have a curse effect, and Lily Ryu is surprised since she didn't know that. Vivien says that after eating, she'll prove that a lapdog is no match for her. Lily Ryu destroys the table and calls her a winged rat. She apologizes to Yoshihito and says she'll pay for the table. Yoshihito tells her to clean up the mess first, and he takes Vivien to see her room. She forgets her luggage and goes for it by jumping from the second floor. She says she'll pay the rent right away because if she doesn't, she'll lose it again. She checks her purse and realizes she lost her wallet. She says she lost it when she was weakened. She calls Lily Ryu a stupid bitch because that was all she had to survive. Lily Ryu tells her it's not her fault she's careless and says it's probably still out there in the street. Vivien cries because it's the fourth time that month she's lost her money. She asks Yoshihito if there's a cemetery nearby, but he tells her she can stay and pay him later. Vivien says she might take a long time to pay him back, and in exchange, she'll cook. Vivien dazzles them, since she knows how to cook really well. She's happy because she didn't think they'd like it that much. She takes advantage of the situation and hints that maybe she won't be charged rent since she cooks so well. Lily Ryu brings the phone to Yoshihito. The caller is a very annoyed job interviewer. She tells him to be there at 2 in the afternoon and hangs up. Lily Ryu asks if he knows her, and he says no. Yoshihito heads to the interview location and receives a call from the interviewer. She tells him to follow some instructions she's about to give. He asks who she is, because he's at the place she indicated and doesn't see any company. She yells at him to put his hand on the wheel attached to the post and tells him to look north. She tells him to take his hand off the post without stopping looking up. Yoshihito is teleported and is impressed by the luxurious place. He says it's better to be safe than sorry. After this, something humanoid appears and invites him in. It guides him to a door, and Yoshihito enters. A kind of red bat lands on a window of the house and makes the other bats go away. Yoshihito, in the office, meets Raven. She's the one who will conduct the interview. She explains that this is subdivision EN35 and it's the Hachiuji office. She'll be his future boss. She asks him to come closer and says he has pretty eyes. Yoshihito tries to stay calm. Then he sees Raven eating noodles, and she asks if he wants some. He says no and asks why she called him there. She says it's for an interview. She comments that it was a metaphor, not exactly literal. She adds that he was chosen and belongs to the Empire of Xiling. They manage the universes, and their goal is to improve universal cohesion. Basically, they are gods. He asks if he was chosen by the gods and thinks he's dead. Raven scolds him, telling him to stop overthinking it because he'll be the secretary in charge of her area. He'll be responsible for stopping species that plan world destruction. He doesn't understand much about it, and Raven tells him not to worry, since he already made contact with Lily Ryu, and that means he's fit for the job. He asks if she sent those two. Raven says no, but that they will send the next tenants and to consider the encounter with them as a work of fate. Yoshihito says he's a normal person, but Raven tells him he already passed the first test, which was meeting them and being able to adapt. They teleport, and Raven tells him he'll have two main jobs. The first is to take care of his tenants, and the second is to clean up after what Raven does. He asks if that has something to do with his tenants, and she says yes, because due to recent rumors, there are fantastic beings behaving strangely, and it's not a good sign. Yoshihito asks what exactly he's supposed to do, and Raven tells him basically it's to control and supervise his tenants, nothing more. Raven tells him that he'll be paid everything according to the law, and that anyone would want that job. Yoshihito wonders what would happen if he refused the job. Raven tells him he has total freedom to decide what he wants, but if he accepts the job, she'll erase his memory of the last 2 days and make sure he doesn't encounter any fantastic species. He asks about Lily Ryu and Vivien. She replies that she'll take care of removing them. Yoshihito gets worried and tells Raven that he won't do anything that goes against his morals. Raven tells him not to worry. They're not an evil organization. They maintain world peace, and besides, they'll pay him well. Yoshihito gets excited about the salary. Raven assures him they won't make him work for free, nor will they send him to dangerous places. The tenants they'll send are pre-approved. Yoshihito holds the contract and sees that it's a very good job offer, as it includes gifts for holidays and food vouchers. Raven asks if he's going to sign it, and he agrees. Raven teleports him back, and he receives a call from Lily Ryu, saying that Vivien has been acting strangely since she went out in broad daylight. When Yoshihito arrives home, Lily and Vivien ask him if he really signed the contract. He says yes. Vivien reads that he will be a junior inspector for the Hachuji office of subdivision EN35. Vivien says she's never heard of a space-time address and doesn't believe that Raven is a goddess. Vivien wonders who she really is and says that at least they're not demon hunter allies. Sakade approaches Yoshihito. He's hungry because apparently Vivien only gave him garlic. Yoshihito asks Vivien why she went out in the afternoon. She says she heard there was a demon hunter nearby. She comments that demon hunters are a far greater risk than empty-headed Lily. Lily challenges her to fight outside. Yoshihito reminds her that Vivien cooked for them, and she calms down. Yoshihito asks what demon hunters are. Vivien says they're monsters with half-human blood. There has always been a rivalry between them and fantastic beings, but neither has managed to completely wipe the other out. She says they're cold and excessively vengeful. Long ago, they connected with religious organizations to cooperate with humans. Yoshihito asks Lily if she's ever met one, but she says she's only seen them in movies. Vivien feels sorry for Lily, saying she has survived purely out of luck. Lily defends herself, saying she's lived with humans since she was little. She found out about lycanthropes after reading a book written by humans. Yoshihito asks if the demon hunters will come for them. Vivien says she really felt their presence. In that case, she says she'll leave and take the stupid dog with her and won't let him get involved. Lily scares Vivien when she turns on the TV. She apologizes and says she doesn't really understand. She adds that thinking too much won't help. The next day, Yoshihito is resting at home when he's teleported to another world. He hits himself, thinking it's a dream, and asks to be returned to reality. He walks a bit and hears a wolf howl. He says he hopes the game auto-saved at some earlier point, as if it were a video game. The wolves chase him and he trips. He asks the wolf to settle their differences peacefully, but the wolf attacks. Yoshihito wakes up. It was a dream. He tells Lily he was having nightmares, but when he opens his hand, he sees the wolf's fur. Later, Lily, Vivien, and Yoshihito try to figure out what, or who, the fur came from. Vivien says there's no trace of dark magic and tells Lily to smell it, since it might be from her same species. Lily says it smells different from the wolves she knows. Vivien floats and gives Yoshihito protection. She says it wasn't just a dream. As far as she knows, there's no magic to extract objects from the dream world. Vivien gives him a selection of silver bracelets that have the effect of repelling demons. Vivien shows various objects she has obtained over the years, even working at the Vatican. Yoshihito asks if she's really a vampire, since all that is for defeating vampires. She tells him she's not afraid of them, it's more like psychological support. Lily says it's all junk, to which Vivien replies that the best part is her power as hematophagic nobility. She bites herself and places her blood on Yoshihito's hand, but it evaporates quickly. Then she says she'll use magic directly, without a catalyst. She starts to do so, but doesn't remember clearly how it works. She asks Yoshihito if he's sleepy, but the one who falls asleep is Lily. Vivien says something is nullifying her magic. She adds that maybe he's innately resistant to magic, or it just affects him very little. She says it must be because of his new job. Yoshihito tries to call Raven, but she's already calling him. She yells at him to show up tomorrow morning because she has an urgent mission. Yoshihito heads to the place, knocks on the door, but no one answers. He thinks of leaving, but Raven appears behind him. Yoshihito asks what that weapon is. Raven says it's her beloved sword, and she uses it to prune trees in the garden. She tells him she has something to give him. In the office, Yoshihito asks what it is. She tells him she'll give him a personal use data terminal. He asks how to use it, and Raven says if he touches it with his hand, he'll be able to control it with his mind. Raven adds that when he's in mortal danger during a mission, that function will be useful. Yoshihito says he won't go to war. Raven says that if he dies and the shift remains, they can make it work from another container for his soul. Basically, he's immortal. Yoshihito says that kind of exploitation beats all others and asks if the urgent mission was about that. Raven shows him the strengthening center, which all newbies must go through. There, they implant small special abilities. Raven pulls out what looks like a coffin and tells Yoshihito to get in. He refuses and says it's terrifying. Raven kicks him inside and tells him not to worry. The chest closes and injects Yoshihito in the neck. Then it starts spinning like a washing machine and overheats until it explodes. Raven wonders if she did something wrong, since that's not supposed to happen. We see Yoshihito again in the strange world. He can see there are 2 moons and it's very cold. The shift speaks to him and says that today's strengthening changed to a somewhat special mode. It says it's a pleasure to meet him and that it'll guide him. He asks it for a coat and a car. The shift says it can't and calls him useless. The shift gets angry and calls him rude. It says he should show more respect. Yoshihito asks its name and it tells him to call it Data. The protagonist asks where they are. Data says they're in the dream dimension, a parallel space to the real world. Data gives him 3 warnings. If he dies there, he also dies in the real world. Any major incident that happens in that dimension, he'll remember in the real world. It asks him to return it to his pocket. It asks how long he plans to keep it floating at his side. Yoshihito notices something near him. Data jumps into his pocket and says that with that body, he can't escape from a wolf. The wolves lunge to bite him, but a barrier protects Yoshihito. Data congratulates him, saying it's a basic skill for beginners. The wolves howl and sync to summon a giant wolf. Yoshihito runs, but the large wolf catches up. It tries to bite his neck, but his shield activates. The wolf asks who he is and what he's doing in that land. He tells him he's not like those beasts who can only turn and howl at the moon. Yoshihito replies that he's just a traveler. He wants to know if there are more species, or even humans. The wolf says humans don't go to that land. Then it says he doesn't have much meat, but he'll do to fill the kids' bellies. It says that with his strange power, he damaged its fangs, and they won't be able to hunt for a long time. Yoshihito says there's another way to fix it. If they help him, he'll repair everyone's fangs. The wolf runs fast, and Yoshihito says he thought the wolf's pride was too big to let someone ride him. The wolf replies that it's no burden to him. Yoshihito asks about the land of humans. The wolf says he's never been, but he knows they're clever because they eat everything. They arrive at the place, and Yoshihito tells the wolf he'll keep his promise. Yoshihito uses Data as a flashlight, and Data complains that that's not what he's for. Yoshihito notices a fragment of something on the floor, and it begins to emit a powerful light that makes them disappear. Elsewhere, we see Lily wrapping a puppy in bandages. She sneezes, and the puppy runs off. Lily bumps into Kasan and apologizes. He keeps walking, and Lily finds it strange he didn't fall despite being pushed, but doesn't give it much thought. At home, Vivien is cleaning with a vacuum and is delighted by how functional and cute it is. Lily arrives, and Vivien tells her she found the perfect house for her, a doghouse. Vivien annoys Lily by vacuuming her face, saying it's shedding season. Lily says it's still too early for that. Raven eats noodles while waiting for Yoshihito. He comes out and says it was a horrible experience, asking how she can be so carefree. She asks if anything new happened. He replies that he wishes he had a finishing move. Raven says that kind of thing is earned step by step. Our protagonist asks what that dream dimension is. Raven says it's an unstable place formed from a special structure. It's a parallel world just like theirs, but ordinary people can't enter it without special means. Yoshihito says it's strange because he was able to enter while asleep. He thought it was a nightmare and shows her the fur he brought from there. He mentions he also saw a metal plate he'd seen before. Raven pushes him to complete his mission of recruiting the new tenant. She prepared 3 tickets to Europe. The rest of the info will be given by Data. Yoshihito leaves, and Raven whispers something that makes the fur disappear. She realizes something infiltrated through there. We see the demon hunter Mitsuya Nangu preparing his weapons. On the plane, Lily wonders what she'll eat. Vivien asks who's moving in with them. He says he doesn't even know. He was only told they're in a place called Yorkford. Vivien didn't know planes flew that high. Yoshihito tells her she flies too. She says she doesn't fly that high or her wings would freeze and she'd fall. Lily says she's flown in first class before. Vivien asks how she paid for it. Lily says it was free. She just hitched a ride by grabbing onto the outside of the plane. When they arrive in England, England, Vivien says it's changed a lot. It used to be a desert. She mentions she lived there for a while. Lily complains she's hungry and tells them to get a taxi. Yoshihito says it's not far, but he doesn't know how to ask. Vivien says she can speak fluent English. Then we see that no one understands her, since her English is centuries old. Yoshihito thought she'd be more efficient than Lily, but they're the same. Vivien decides to use Lily's sense of smell and points to the right. Vivien tells her to guide them, but she says she's too hungry to do it. Yoshihito says the hotel food must be delicious. Lily runs off in that direction. At the hotel, Vivien is amazed by how beautiful the place is and notices the candle has a bulb instead of a flame. She then asks what the soft thing is. Yoshihito tells her it's a pillow. She says it's the first time she's seen such a soft one in her life. Lily feasts on food, and Vivien enjoys the soft bed. Yoshihito sees their behavior and tells them to stop messing around. They apologize and start looking for the tenant. Raven appears through Data and asks if they found them. Yoshihito says Data isn't working properly. She remembers she didn't update it and will ask a tech expert for help. Yoshihito says Raven is useless and stingy. Data updates and says he'll take care of translating texts and conversations. He warns him not to speak badly of Raven or he'll receive divine punishment. In short, he'll be struck by lightning right after it happens. Lily starts barking, asking Data if he knows what she said. Yoshihito thinks she said she's hungry, since she never thinks about anything else, and they go eat. Data feels ashamed, thinking he's not being useful at all. We see Lily has eaten too much but still keeps eating. We see the red bat again. It's Vivien's familiar. The bat notices something and warns Vivien, saying they should return to the room because it's dangerous to stay there. Mitsuya Nangu interrupts, asking what kind of danger could be there. Vivien asks who he is and he introduces himself. He sits to eat with them, and Yoshihito asks if he knows Yorkford. He says yes, he has unfinished business there and asks what they're doing. Vivien says her hobby is going to places where no one else goes. Lily says she loves adventures. Yoshihito says a friend told him about the place, but he doesn't know how to get there. Mitsuya says it's a remote place. You have to take a train to Bruchal Station, which takes all day. Lily asks why it's so hard to get there. Mitsuya says there's nothing in Yorkford but castle ruins, and the only ones who go there are explorers. He warns them to be careful because there are ghosts. Later, Yoshihito wonders if the new roommate is a ghost, and who that guy was. Vivien tells him there might be a demon hunter in the hotel, since her familiar detected a demon hunter seal. Vivien says Mitsuya could be the hunter. Yoshihito says he seemed like a normal guy and asks if they have any identifying traits. Vivien says there are ways, but she's interrupted by Mitsuya, who says he is a demon hunter. They doubt it and ask him to repeat what he said. Vivien laughs out loud, asking what kind of demon hunter reveals their identity and says he's a fraud. Then she goes to sleep. The hunter says he really is one. He loses balance and falls, but Yoshihito catches him. After that, Vivien asks why he revealed his identity. Mitsuya says nowadays they have to if they want to earn a living, and shows his demon hunter seal. Mitsuya asks what kind of beings they are. Vivien says she's 100% human, which Nangu finds odd since a normal person wouldn't know about Yorkford, but he doesn't make a big deal of it. He says there must be a reason they met and he'll guide them to Yorkford. Yoshihito asks Vivien if it's really okay to trust someone so easily. Vivien replies that she doesn't trust Nangu at all. They need to stay alert and watch his every move. The next day, on the train, Vivien complains about sitting next to Lily. She couldn't sleep because Lily wouldn't stop tossing and turning and talking in her sleep. Yoshihito asks Nangu when the ghost incident started. Nangu says he doesn't know, but assures them they'll be safe with him. Meanwhile, on the news, a reporter interviews the first person to report a ghost sighting, Angus. She asks him to explain what happened. Angus recounts that on a night of strong winds while in Bruchal, he saw blue flames circling the ruins of the castle. Despite the castle having collapsed, he says the bell still rings at night and he's seen empty suits of armor walking near it. The reporter adds that the Spectral Agency of England is offering a hefty reward for anyone who can solve the case. Vivien gets excited at the mention of the reward and insists they should take the job. Nangu says they're getting close. He can smell a ghost nearby. Lily says what she smells is someone who didn't change their socks. Nangu explains that demon hunters have a highly developed sense of smell. Suddenly, a knight, a woman, and a monk bump into Nangu's luggage, rudely demanding he move it. Yoshihito asks Vivien and Lily who they might be as they don't look like ordinary people. Vivien guesses they're here for the reward too. Upon arrival, Nangu hurries ahead, claiming he can smell something. Vivien sighs, wondering why the dumbest one always runs in first. Angus, the man from the news, tells them his hotel has no rooms available. Yoshihito asks if there's anything he can do. Angus, moved by the fact they came from far away, promises to try finding them a room. A bit later, Angus hands a room key to Nangu and asks if they're there for the ghosts. Yoshihito denies it, but Nangu brags that he's a professional hunter and will eliminate the ghosts himself. Angus introduces himself as the hotel's owner and asks Yoshihito if he's also a hunter. Yoshihito replies that he's just a tourist. Lily bites Vivien's arm, thinking it's ribs, just as her bat familiar arrives. Nangu asks Angus for more details and if there's a map of the castle. Angus replies that no such map exists. Its layout has long been forgotten. He explains that many years ago, a rebellion broke out and many knights died. Those dead are now ghosts, attacking anyone who dares seek the treasure. The first lord of the castle collected treasures of all kinds and built traps to protect them. He had 3 sons. After his death, the eldest inherited everything, but the other 2 rebelled, leading to the revolt that turned the castle into a battlefield. In the end, all 3 brothers perished within the castle. Yoshihito tells the story to Vivien. She says that in that case, she has useful info. Her bats have been investigating. Normally, ghosts don't emerge to the surface, but Angus said he saw them above ground. Vivien concludes that these entities are probably the new roommates. Nangu gets nervous when Yoshihito accidentally drops a photo of his sister. He says it's hunter business, and Yoshihito wouldn't understand. He crawls into his special demon hunter sleeping bag, allegedly insect-proof, soundproof, and magically shielded. Yoshihito asks why he's not with his precious sister, if she's a hunter too. Nangu says she isn't, and he wouldn't want her near such dangerous work. Yoshihito freaks out, realizing his job might be far more dangerous than he thought. Meanwhile, Angus is with the Indian monk Kusari and Beleza. Kusari strangles Angus for charging them more than the agreed price per person. While Nangu spies on the scene, Vivien bursts into Yoshihito's room and lands on top of him. He panics, thinking she's a ghost, but she tells him to quit being stupid. Nangu's already on the move, and they need to hurry. They go wake Lily, who's sound asleep. Vivien shoves her off the bed to wake her up. Angus tells them they're lucky. He'll take them to Yorkford Castle himself. He warns them to avoid the chapel. If they see a cursed crucifix, it'll come after them. Beleza asks what he means. Angus just repeats himself. Just then, the car shakes. Nangu has landed on top of it. From the monk's bag, a snake slithers out toward Nangu. Behind them, Vivien and Yoshihito are flying with Lily running below. Vivien says her familiars found a shortcut. They'll get there faster. Yoshihito realizes Lily is running while asleep and smashes into a rock. They check on her, she says she's hurt, and then collapses backward, revealing the shortcut entrance. Vivien warns them not to move too much or they'll fall. She's the first one to fall. Lily calls her a liar and says this really is the shortcut. Moments before, Yoshihito noticed that the floor under them was about to give way. Vivien talks to her bats, and at last, they reach the exit. They arrive at the castle and spot the trio and the other explorers in the distance. Yoshihito asks Data if they've arrived at Yorkford or if it found anything yet. Data refuses to answer, offended by his earlier insults, and enters sleep mode. Nangu places his seal on a symbol on the floor. It lights up. The group tries to approach, but see Nangu already standing above. Vivien says she hears the broken castle weeping, lamenting how it couldn't resist the flow of time. Lily says the sound is coming from over there. Yoshihito asks Data again if there's a sign of the tenant. Data says they're close. Beleza wonders if that's the chapel Angus warned about. The monk says there's nothing to fear. Yoshihito gets an idea to scare them. Vivien attacks them with bats and flies overhead. Lily howls loudly under the moonlight, so loudly it even startles Data. Vivien asks Lily to remove a rock. Lily hurls it far away. Inside the chapel, Lily says she smells a human other than Yoshihito, someone who's no longer there. Vivien points out footprints left by someone who entered before them. She uses blood magic to reveal writing on the crucifix. Yoshihito uses Data to translate it. The inscription reads, 4 steps right, 3 steps back. I am the door to the divine secret. Vivien tells Lily to follow the instructions and uncover the floorboard. Under it, they find a ring protecting the treasure. Pulling it opens a passage. Data confirms the new tenant is down there. They descend to find them. Inside the tunnel, it's so dark that even Data's light isn't enough. They reach a point where the path splits into 3. Vivien notes it's not a normal passage, more like a track for wagons or tanks pulled by horses. Lily says she smells a human down one of them. Nangu throws his seal at a suspicious rock. It smells odd. As he peeks in, wind pulls the seal away and the rock falls on him. The others are exhausted. The tunnel is much larger than expected. Lily eats a kibble and offers it to the others, but they all politely decline. Yoshihito notices a strange noise. Lily suggests it might be the new tenant. Yoshihito grumbles that if that's true, he'll charge triple rent for making him come all the way down there. They see a light at the end of the corridor and wonder if it's the tenant, but as they approach, they realize it's Angus, the hotel owner. Vivien quickly disguises them as ghosts and says they should question Angus Angus. No normal person would be here unless he's hiding something. Angus panics, begging for mercy. He says he's just there to make up stories to attract tourists. He even asks if they're really nightly ghosts. Yoshihito yells at him to leave, and the smoke around their disguise dissipates. Then Lily spots something written on the wall. Vivien identifies it as Letta script, used by demon hunters for exorcisms. Reading it aloud, Vivien says, "Seal the source of many evils so its malevolent power won't arise. When the walls close in, the guardians shall awaken." She deduces that the castle's former lord wasn't just a noble. He was either associated with demon hunters or one himself. Vivien touches the wall, and it reacts to her magic. Arrows rain from the ceiling, but Yoshihito's protective shield activates just in time. He warns there's no time to run and asks Lily to break the wall. Elsewhere, Nangu crawls through a narrow tunnel. A mouse startles him, making him activate a seal and cause an explosion. Vivien theorizes that the castle is designed to react to people with magic, to exterminate anyone who tries to break the seal. Suddenly, a giant boulder approaches. They dodge it, but Lily gives chase. Vivien sighs that it's inevitable. After all, she is a dog. They follow her, but the ground collapses under Lily. Vivien manages to catch her and declares she won't save her again. Nangu ends up in the same area where the others were. He sees the writing on the wall but can't read it. He suspects it must be important. As he reaches out, arrows strike him. Meanwhile, Yoshihito crashes down onto Vivien and Lily. They've landed in a treasure chamber filled with food and gold. Yoshihito tells them to look closely. It's all an illusion. In reality, there's just a deadly abyss. Strangely, Yoshihito seems unaffected by the illusion magic. They cross a narrow bridge and wonder if they're getting close to the tenant. Suddenly, a trap triggers and the walls start closing in. Lily tries to break them, but both she and Vivien weaken unexpectedly. Panicking, Yoshihito places his hands on the walls. They stop moving, and their strength returns. Elsewhere, Nangu removes the arrows from his body, only to face a giant boulder. He scoffs at such a childish trap, then falls into a deep pool. The group takes a moment to rest. Yoshihito spots a suit of armor moving its sword. Vivien warns it's too dangerous to fight here, and they flee. The sword Lily carries begins speaking. It reveals the demon stone is sealed. Vivien realizes the knights weren't the sealed ones. The stone itself is the true threat, an artifact for summoning demons. Lily says they should just smash it, but Vivien insists it's not that simple. Yoshihito asks what happens if the seal breaks and a demon appears. Vivien answers that if it's powerful and hostile, it could do whatever it wants to the world. Yoshihito asks what kind of stone it is. Vivien says it's a black quartz, thin, with red tips. Yoshihito says, "You mean this one?" Meanwhile, Nangu, no longer feeling pain, finds a hole in the wall and senses powerful magic inside. Yoshihito asks Data if it's possible to call for reinforcements. Data sarcastically asks if he has no shame asking for help over something like this. Nangu uses his seals to blast open the wall, causing the demonic stone to tremble. The explosion sends debris crashing down on the group, but Yoshihito's shield activates again. They realize Nangu caused it. Suddenly, ghostly knights begin closing in. Yoshihito says they might not make it out alive. Arrows strike the armor. Nangu has arrived, striking a heroic pose and asking what they're doing there. He says it doesn't matter. They must have their reasons. He leaps high into the air, only to fall clumsily. The ghost knights prepare for battle. Nangu assures them there's nothing to fear. He's here. He uses a sealing spell to paralyze the knights, then starts defeating them one by one. Vivien tells the others to stall for time while she recharges her magic. The place explodes again, debris rains down, and Yoshihito's shield activates once more. But Nangu runs out of magic seals, drawing attention to himself. Lily goes wild, hurling rocks at the knights, and even hits Nangu in the process. Finally, Vivien recovers her energy and unleashes 120% of her power, but it has no effect. The demon stone absorbs her spell and emits a red beam into the sky. The group immediately senses something terrible. Meteorites begin falling all around the castle. From the heavens descends a massive demon. With a single finger, he redirects a meteor directly toward the castle. Yoshihito shields everyone with his barrier. The demon grabs both Yoshihito and Nangu and flies off. Vivien and Lily pursue him. Yoshihito, in the demon's grip, sees its face and faints from terror. The demon lands and releases the two. Vivien says there's no need to panic. Technically, she and the demon share the same level of power. The demon's energy creates a second red moon in the sky. Lily faints from the shock of seeing two moons. The demon calls Yoshihito by name and asks if he's the landlord. Data appears and congratulates them. They've found the new tenant. The demon introduces himself as Isaac Goodman and says he wants to sign a rental contract. Vivien shouts that they must not make a pact with a demon. Lily casually introduces herself and shakes his hand without hesitation. Vivien notes he's a very polite and extra-large demon. Isaac picks up Nangu like a rag doll and thanks him for opening the gate. Accidentally, he throws Nangu far away and pouts that he left without saying goodbye. Data calls Isaac the ideal tenant, courteous and with a gentle heart. Vivien warns not to be fooled. He dropped a meteor on them. The demon thanks Vivien for using so much magic. She blushes, replying that his meteor spell was quite impressive too. He asks if he did well defeating the ghost knights. Vivien says yes, which surprises both Lily and Yoshihito. Nearby, the other explorers hear the commotion. Yoshihito says they can't let themselves be found. Isaac suggests using more meteorites, but Yoshihito quickly stops him. No more meteorites. He asks if Isaac can take a human form instead. The demon replies yes and transforms, though his new form is still absolutely terrifying. Yoshihito is in Raven's office, but she doesn't pay much attention to what he's saying. She asks about his relationship with the new roommate and says she wants to solve everything with meteorites, even if it's just a cockroach. She's eating rice drenched in soy sauce, which reminds Yoshihito of the drink he used to have every day on the ship before arriving on that planet. Lily asks Isaac if he wasn't sealed. Isaac replies that the demon stone is merely a door. Yoshihito then asks if his mission was to open that door, and Raven confirms it. Isaac had been waiting on the other side. Yoshihito asks if Isaac is a demon. Raven answers that he's a space demon. Isaac notices the kitten Sakate and pets him, but the cat bites him, and Isaac instantly falls in love with him. Raven says Isaac is no longer dangerous, though he used to wage wars across the universe conquering other species. Isaac declares that it's time to work. He's renting a room, so he has to pay for it. Lily comments that the Batgirl hasn't paid rent in 3 months. The two of them argue, and Isaac steps in, saying that fighting is bad. Raven clarifies that even though Isaac is a demon, he's actually a good guy, and she asks Yoshihito to take good care of him. Seeing the mess, Yoshihito decides he'd rather stay outside. Later, Vivien finishes cleaning her room and feels proud of the result. Yoshihito congratulates her, and she shows him something she found while cleaning. He recognizes it and places it with the other pieces he's collected. He wonders if there's a way to return to the dream dimension. Vivien suggests that maybe one of those pieces holds the key. She reads a bit of the writing and believes it's a type of enchantment meant to link with others. Yoshihito tries to decipher it, but fails. Suddenly, Yoshihito gets a call. Isaac has been arrested because of his appearance. That night, Lily wakes up with a strange look in her eyes that scares the cat away, though she quickly falls back asleep. The next morning, Yoshihito wonders why Raven called him so early, and he runs into Nangu's sister, Satsuki Nangu. Satsuki is so embarrassed that she walks right past him. She calls him stingy. At the office, Raven explains that the contractor was supposed to bring the other roommate to Earth, but instead left him on a planet 895 light-years away. She tells Yoshihito that his new mission is to go into space and bring the roommate back. Yoshihito asks if she's serious. Raven tells him to broaden his perspective. This is a chance to learn new things. He asks how he's supposed to get to space. Raven reassures him and says she'll update his terminal so he can access the space station. She gives him a special medicine that heals any injury and guarantees he won't die as long as he has it. She also warns him the planet he's going to is mostly ocean, so they've brought in someone who specializes in that environment. Satsuki enters, and Raven announces that she'll be Yoshihito's new roommate. Back home, Yoshihito introduces Satsuki to the others. They each introduce themselves and ask if she's also some kind of magical being. Satsuki explains that she's a land-based mermaid. Her mother is a mermaid, but she was raised on land. Vivien gives a brief explanation about mermaids. They're all female, and they reproduce through a special ritual. Satsuki apologizes, saying she's really hungry. Vivien offers to cook the best dish she can to welcome the new roommate. Satsuki comments that it's funny a vampire would cook for a werewolf. Vivien replies not to misunderstand. She's just fattening her up to use as bait for magical beasts. Lily gets mad and they start arguing. Isaac steps in again, asking them not to fight. Satsuki says she's glad to have such lively roommates. After eating, Yoshihito says he's going to get the other roommate, but he can only take 2 people. One of them will be Satsuki. Vivien asks where they're going. He replies, to space. Vivien says that's outside of her expertise. Isaac comments that he's been on a spaceship before and agrees to go. Lily throws a tantrum and suddenly clutches her stomach. Vivien notices she hasn't been eating much lately. Yoshihito decides it's best to bring her along on the next mission. That night, Yoshihito gets up to get a drink. Satsuki asks him if he's scared to go into space. He says no, then she asks what he really is, because she doesn't believe he's just a regular human. He insists that he is. She finds that hard to believe since he lives with 3 non-human species. She thought he'd be some kind of supreme master or something. Yoshihito asks why she's been traveling. Satsuki replies that it's a top secret and goes to bed. The next morning, Data takes them to a place where they can teleport to the space station. When they arrive, a guide welcomes them to the Kuiper space station. Yoshihito asks if she's an alien. Data confirms it. Yoshihito remarks that he thought aliens would look more shocking. like in the movies. Satsuki notes that the gravity feels similar to Earth's. The guide explains that the environment is artificially adjusted so that most species can adapt to the gravity and atmosphere. Those who can't are modified with tools. Isaac points out that there aren't many people. Satsuki comments that it feels deserted. The guide gets annoyed and asks if they're even listening to her. They all say yes, and Data apologizes, saying their personalities are a bit problematic. Yoshihito asks why there aren't more people. The guide explains that this is just a relay station. Most visitors don't stay long. She says there will be passengers on the ship that will match Yoshihito's taste. They're boarding mid-sized spaceship number 883. Satsuki spots some little green Martians, and everyone is shocked. Data tells them to hurry and board the ship. Once inside, they realize it's completely empty. Data explains that it's used for storage, but when they get close to landing, they'll transfer to a smaller vessel. Isaac asks how they'll get back if the ship is so small. Data says Raven will send another one. Since this mission was unplanned, they'll have to put up with some inconveniences. A hologram of the captain appears. He tells them it'll be a long but safe journey. Isaac says he seems trustworthy. The captain gives off a good vibe. Yoshihito asks how long it'll take to get there. The captain replies that the ship travels faster than the speed of light, and with his captain skills, it won't take more than a day. Yoshihito finds the whole captain skills thing absurd. The ship begins its departure as ordered. Back home, Lily is deeply saddened, thinking the landlord abandoned her. Vivien decides to cook something for her so she doesn't get too depressed. As soon as she says it, she wonders why she's acting like Lily's mother. Lily asks Vivien if she can't use her wings to fly to space. Vivien replies that she can't. Lily asks if all she can do is cook. Vivien asks if she's really upset just because of that, or if there's something else. Lily says maybe she's getting sick from being allergic to bats. Vivien immediately regrets worrying about her. Meanwhile, the spaceship is zooming through space at high speed, but the group is calmly playing cards. Isaac turns out to be really good at the game, and Yoshihito gives up. Isaac says he's having fun on the trip. He had always been alone, and now he's excited. Next time, there will be 5 of them. Data announces it's time to switch to the smaller ship. The little green aliens panic, and the captain says that their company's rival is trying to overtake them. Data explains that apparently a race between companies has just begun. Satsuki remarks that she had completely forgotten about them while focusing on the race. Data says they must board the smaller ship immediately to escape. That ship doesn't travel at light speed, so if they leave at the wrong moment, they could drift through space for thousands of years. The ships begin to fight, and the group has about 4 minutes to escape. Isaac says he'll knock out the captain. Data warns that if they do that, they'll get arrested. Satsuki replies that in that case, it'll count as self-defense. They reach the ship, and Data pilots it, since there's a special terminal spot. However, he reports a problem. Due to the high speed, the ejection gate is locked for safety. Data doesn't have the clearance to disable the lock. Yoshihito asks if there's another way. Isaac says he'll handle it. He likes being in space without a suit. Yoshihito tells him it's dangerous. Isaac responds that the landlord saved him once, so now it's his turn to help. Yoshihito agrees, and Isaac begins pushing the door. Satsuki notes how impressive it is that he gets along so well with fantastical beings and demon hunters. Isaac finally opens the door and they launch off. They approach the planet and Data warns that they're entering the atmosphere. Yoshihito asks if Isaac is okay. He says he feels warm and everything is fine. Yoshihito and Satsuki feel like they're going to die, but moments later Data tells them they're fine. Though the ship is destroyed and they're in free fall, they must evacuate. They crash into the water, and Yoshihito glimpses a mermaid before blacking out like a fool. When he opens his eyes, he's in the dream dimension. Data explains that when he nearly drowned, his mind might have entered an unstable state, sending him into that dimension. In the real world, Miss Satsuki is helping him and has informed them of his situation, assuring there's nothing to worry about. Yoshihito asks if Data can exist in both worlds at once. Data replies that he's multitasking. Yoshihito sees that another species of wolves is attacking the ones he met before. He defends them with his shield. One of the wolves tells him not to humiliate them like that, since they're very proud. Yoshihito clarifies that he didn't mean it that way, and the wolf thanks him for helping now that they no longer have fangs to fight. Yoshihito says that since he couldn't bring a dentist, he offers them a medicine that heals all types of wounds. The wolves comment on its strange smell and ask where he got it. He begs them to trust him and internally hopes Raven didn't trick him. The wolf leader takes the medicine and begins to glow. Everyone panics, but the wolf assures them he's fine. He has recovered all his teeth. He then asks for the medicine to be given to his subordinates and says Yoshihito is the first human to ever keep his promise. Yoshihito says he's grateful to have been saved by them. He asks if they know what a carved inscription on the stone is. The wolf says it's ancient writing used by humans long ago to leave messages in their structures. Yoshihito asks if it's like a lucky charm or has another purpose. Data warns he's about to wake up. When he opens his eyes, Isaac is giving him mouth to mouth. Everyone was worried because he wouldn't wake up. Data reports that while he was unconscious, he scanned the planet. Satsuki asks what the 2 points on the scan are. Data believes they're the locations where the ships crashed. Isaac asks where the new tenant is. Satsuki assumes the tenant is in the sea and says she can help. Data tries to give more details, but everyone ignores him and heads into the forest. Back at home, Vivien has prepared a delicious meal. Lily devours the food, and Vivien comments she thought Lily was exhausted. Lily tastes another dish and realizes it's full of garlic. She says her nose is super sensitive and that she might faint if it's all garlic. Vivien replies that if she doesn't like it, she doesn't have to eat it, but also asks why she didn't notice it earlier if her nose is so sharp. Lily faints and starts acting strange, which worries Vivien. Outside the house, 2 people are watching, Kasan and Yuan. In the forest, Data informs the group that they're almost at the objective and reminds them to follow relocation protocols. Satsuki asks how much farther they have to walk. Isaac points ahead. They find the crashed ship and decide to check for survivors. Isaac tears the ship apart but finds no one. Data analyzes the remains and concludes that the cargo compartment is missing, meaning the tenant was likely there. Yoshihito asks why the tenant was in the cargo hold. Data replies that he doesn't know the reason, but that this ship model has a very sturdy cargo section, so the tenant is probably safe. They head to the sea, hoping to find the tenant. Satsuki dives from a rock to search. Data says the ship is in a deep sea trench, 2,000 meters down. Satsuki hands Yoshihito her clothes, and he realizes she really is a nymph. She clarifies that she's a siren and that she can take him to the bottom. Data says it's Yoshihito's job, so Isaac throws him like a missile, wishing him a safe trip. Yoshihito thinks he's going to die, but discovers he can breathe underwater. Satsuki explains that she can control water like it's part of her body, forming bubbles and adjusting pressure. A shark chases them, but Satsuki turns into an octopus. The shark halts and flees in terror. Yoshihito asks if she can transform into anything. She says yes, turns into a shrimp, and launches herself at him. Data says they're near the target. The place is very dark, and Yoshihito asks Data to light up like a flashlight. Data is deeply offended, but complies. They find the cargo hold. It's damaged on the outside, but the interior looks intact. Satsuki becomes a sea snake and creates an air bubble around the compartment so Yoshihito can enter. She slithers out like a fish out of water. Yoshihito tells her to transform into a human, but she says she's naked and tells him not to stare so much. They enter the compartment but find no one. Data confirms the records show a passenger was inside. Yoshihito decides to inform Raven. Meanwhile, Satsuki opens a device containing baby items and an egg. Raven asks to see the place and congratulates them for finding the new tenant. Satsuki drops the egg, and Raven freaks out. Luckily, it doesn't break. Yoshihito asks what they should do now. Raven says she'll meet them in an open area to discuss the details. They surface, and Isaac presents the egg. In the distance, a ship approaches. It's Raven. Yoshihito scolds her for nearly killing them with that landing. She replies she was being kind by bringing the ship directly to them. Yoshihito asks if she's giving them that ship. Raven says yes, and he'll be the captain. Raven explains that the egg belongs to a nymph from another world, the last surviving life form of that planet. Yoshihito says he can't take care of something that important. Raven reassures him that this life form is extremely resilient, so he shouldn't worry. He asks the captain to pilot the ship, but the captain doesn't know how, so they use Data instead, who is delighted. Data asks which solar system they're heading to. The captain replies they should simply return home, and they depart. Yoshihito, Isaac, and Satsuki are teleported back home, where everyone is starving. The house is a complete mess thanks to Lily. Vivien tries to restrain her, but she escapes and attacks Yoshihito. Lily sees the egg and licks her lips. Satsuki warns her it's not food. Isaac holds her back, and Yoshihito asks how long she's been like this. Vivien explains she became violent right after the food was ready. V suggests they go to Raven for examination. Yoshihito asks Data to teleport them to the space-time office. Data says he can't because of Lily's unstable condition. Isaac draws a teleportation circle using soy sauce to travel immediately. Vivien comments that demons are experts in teleportation magic. Isaac adds that any liquid will do. They arrive at the office, and Raven is annoyed they interrupted her moment of peace. Yoshihito insists they're in trouble. Lily slips from Isaac's arms and bites Raven's leg. Raven locks eyes with her. Lily asks if she's the doctor. Raven replies with another question. What does she see in her eyes? Lily says she sees a large red moon with people on it, melting into the sea. Lily claims she needs to become stronger and attacks Raven, but Raven stops her with a single blow. Raven says she's not sick. She's about to evolve. In simple terms, she's awakening new werewolf powers. Yoshihito doesn't fully get it, so Raven explains Lily will temporarily return to her full wolf form to awaken her hidden strength. Satsuki notes that's why she lost her sanity. Raven adds that these powers usually awaken slowly over years, but Lily must have been exposed to something that sped up the process. V says maybe she ate something bad, but Vivien insists she's only eaten what she's cooked. Raven explains werewolves are sensitive to the moon, and then Yoshihito remembers that Vivien conjured a red moon at Yorkford Castle. Vivien is shocked and admits it's her fault, but says the important thing now is to stabilize Lily's mind at the reinforcement center. Yoshihito carries her, and Raven takes the chance to ask Isaac and Satsuki how they're liking their new life. Isaac says he enjoys it, and Satsuki says she's having a lot of fun. Lily wakes up, apologizes for causing trouble, and barely remembers anything. Vivien, Isaac, and Satsuki are relieved she's okay. Yoshihito asks everyone to go home, as he'll stay and talk with Raven. Raven is glad he's back and asks for a report on his missions in England and space, reminding him that without a report, there'll be no pay. Then she asks how it feels to live with fantastical beings. He replies that it's a bit tedious, but they seem like good people. Raven tells him Lily's transformation isn't over yet. They merely calmed her down. She must go through the change naturally under the next moon. Looking at the calendar, they realize that's tomorrow, but Raven will be busy. She tells them to handle it on their own, since they completed their mission and should manage. The next day, Yoshihito is worried about what might happen that night. Kasan watches him from afar. At home, Vivien appears to be making poison, but it's actually medicine for the pup, made by combining 20 million medicinal plant species with secret magic. When a drop falls to the ground, it disintegrates the surface. Night falls, and they camp outdoors. Isaac says camping is fun. Yoshihito notes they're far from the city, so there's no risk of being seen. Lily plays with the egg, and Vivien reassures everyone. The medicine is ready, they play cards and arm wrestling. Lily won't stop eating. When everyone's asleep, Lily goes out to see the moon and howls. Seeing her, they realize she's aggressive again. Isaac creates a protection circle. Lily completes her transformation, and the girls find her appearance adorable. She's huge. Data says she's not a wolf. She's a Siberian husky. Yoshihito approaches and she licks him. She just wants to play. Then she sees the moon and howls with thunderous voice. Kasan and Yuan say it's time to see what she can do. Vivien gives her the medicine, but it doesn't work. Lily keeps howling and runs off. They all chase her. Yoshihito asks Isaac to stop her, but she kicks him away. Vivien restrains her with magic. Yoshihito says he'll talk her down, but Lily acts rebellious. Satsuki begins to sing, which calms Lily down. Suddenly, she falls asleep and begins to transform back. Satsuki covers her eyes since she's naked, and Vivien wraps her in a blanket. Back home, Yuan knocks Yoshihito unconscious. Lily wakes up in space. Each hand has a claw, one hot, one cold. She's in an unknown place and tries to escape but gets electrocuted. Kasan and Yuan appear before her. They say they're allies, protecting her from a deceiving vampire. She asks where the others are. They say she mustn't mingle with other species. Lily replies that everyone is kind, including Isaac and Satsuki. Yuan says they'll withhold food until she agrees to go with them. Kasan knocks her out. Vivien's familiar sees everything. Kasan says the girl will be useful to their clan and that they'll teach her about werewolves. Back home, the group asks Yoshihito where Lily is. He remembers being struck from behind and that she was taken. Isaac says he'll go find her, but they don't know where to start. Vivien's bat is too weak to give useful information. Data scans it and says it has oil, coal, iron oxide, and shards of glass in its body. Vivien deduces they're at a steel factory. Yoshihito says there's one nearby. They might be there. They split into pairs and head over. Yuan seals the area so anyone trying to enter will trigger an explosion. Vivien sends her bats to scout, but one is destroyed by the barrier. Upon arrival, they discover a fog barrier. Lily is inside, and Vivien says it's a powerful magic. Isaac and Satsuki descend into a basement where 3 people are and apologize for the disturbance. Vivien throws stones, but they disintegrate upon contact with the mist. She concludes that Yoshihito might have the power to cancel magic, and with his help, they can enter. Yoshihito accepts the risk and asks Vivien to get him in. Yuan sees them approach and attacks, saying he knew she'd come. Yoshihito asks where Lily is. Yuan says it doesn't matter, transforms and attacks. Isaac appears to protect Vivien, but he's actually just winning at sumo. Yuan climbs the walls. Vivien says she'll handle the wolf and tells Yoshihito to go to the pup. Vivien unleashes a swarm of bats. Yoshihito, afraid of heights, jumps into the void calling her name. Yuan is stunned when he sees her. She's the Red Moon Summoner Countess. The bell announces the constant change of the universe, and Isaac defeats the 3 players. Yoshihito asks if Lily is there and walks through the barrier without any issue. Kasan says he won't let him take her and attacks him from several angles at once. Data tells him to stop running and fight, as he's now capable of facing him. Yoshihito wonders how Data knows where he is, and Data replies that he can locate him by his scent. So Yoshihito activates the fire alarms to make tracking him harder. He finally finds Lily. She asks if he came for her and throws a tantrum because she's hungry. They run into Kasan and Yoshihito asks why he kidnapped her. He replies that it wasn't a kidnapping. Lily is on their side. Vivien enters with Ewan and reunites with the little pup. Casson grows concerned about his brother. Ewan asks him not to fight since Vivien is the Red Moon Summoner Countess. Lily says she's with her because she's family, not because she's a powerful vampire. Yoshihito asks if they can explain how they met. They all sit to talk. Kassan asks Yoshihito what he is. He replies he's just a human, and Kassan tells him not to play dumb. Vivien asks why they came to this country. They explain that all fantastic beings have started gathering with their own kind recently because the day of the mermaid prophecy is approaching. At that moment, a group of demon hunters arrives. The werewolves get furious and transform. One of the hunters says he can't allow alliances between fantastic species. He orders the brothers to join them, but they refuse, so he shoots them in the back. The hunter says not to be confused, that it's a direct order. Yoshihito says he's just a human. The hunter asks if he really intends to stand in their way. They offer to let him go if he hands over the fantastic beings, but Yoshihito refuses. The hunter says to proceed with the original plan, capture the brothers and kill the rest. They open fire. Yoshihito protects everyone with his shield, but the shots don't stop. Vivien distracts them with her magic. Lily transforms and charges at the hunters like a wild beast. Yoshihito tells everyone to close their eyes and uses data as a blinding flashlight. Kassan tells Yoshihito to climb on his back and they escape. The hunter asks Vivien why she's siding with them. Vivien replies that she was influenced by a certain kind-hearted person. The werewolves and Yoshihito are cornered. Kassan tells Yoshihito to leave, that they'll handle the rest. Yoshihito runs, but a female demon hunter chases him, asking if he's really just a human. Yoshihito says yes, and that, unfortunately, he's just too nice. The hunter says that's not normal, that he shouldn't have such speed or strength. She assumes he's a new type of monster. Yoshihito throws a punch, but she vanishes and attacks from afar with arrows. He dodges the shots and gets close. Eventually, he leaves her on the ground and heads to where the girls are. Vivien is fighting another demon hunter, but he attacks her with a seal and wounds her with an arrow. Lily unleashes her power and terrifies the hunter. Yoshihito catches Vivien just in time, but gets smacked for calling her heavy. Vivien says that if it weren't for her lucky charm, the arrow would have hit her. She then tells Yoshihito to go help the Ewan brothers, as they won't last much longer if the fight continues. Indeed, the brothers are exhausted. Ewan gathers his last strength to attack, but the hunter wounds both of them with an arrow. Ewan goes berserk, but the hunter stabs him with a dagger that freezes him. He says he intended to leave them at least able to talk, but has no choice due to their resistance. Kassan begs the hunter to spare his brother. The hunter demands he reveal the prophecy and everything he knows about it in exchange for Ewan's life. Just then, Yoshihito and Lily arrive. She declares she won't let him get away with this. She activates her power and unleashes 2 tornadoes on the hunters. Lily teleports them into the forest, and Yoshihito gives them the all-healing medicine. Kassan takes it and begins to glow brightly, then gives it to his brother, but it doesn't seem to work. Kassan assumes the hunters found out about the resurgence of fantastic beings and thought it would be a critical blow against them. Suddenly, Isaac and Satsuki arrive, apologizing for being late because they were running from the hunters. Kassan asks if they're also fantastic beings. Satsuki approaches Ewan and says she might be able to heal him. Her brother is skeptical, but Satsuki asks him to trust her. He agrees. After all, she's his friend. Satsuki asks everyone to back away and begins the healing. Vivien has many questions. Kassan says he's willing to answer everything since they dragged them into this. Yoshihito introduces Satsuki and Isaac and says they're the werewolves who kidnapped Lily. Vivien demands an explanation. Kassan replies it was because of the mermaid prophecies. Yoshihito asks Satsuki if she knows anything about them, but she says she's never heard of it. Kassan explains that when the day of resurgence comes, fantastic beings will grow stronger and demon hunters will weaken. Satsuki thinks that might be a clue to find her parents. Ewan wakes up and says he's feeling much better. Everyone thanks and forgives each other. A demon hunter appears and is intercepted by Isaac, who grabs his head. Lily asks Isaac to show his power, but he says he'll try to reason with him. The hunter throws a dagger at Isaac's heart, but it melts. Isaac asks if he doesn't want to be good. The hunter keeps attacking, but all attempts fail. Then, a giant meteor appears in the sky. The hunter tries to run, but Isaac teleports him toward the meteor, tells him not to run, and punches him. Vivien asks Data if he managed to contact Raven. He replies yes. The brothers leave. Satsuki asks why the prophecy is called the Prophecy of the Mermaids. Kassan explains that long ago, mermaids rose to the surface and declared that ancient power would begin to awaken. They said a gate would open to the shining nation built by extraordinary species. that strength and glory would be restored, and the downfall of their enemies would be the sign. They bid farewell, promising to visit again. A female demon hunter appears threatening the mermaid, but the mermaid says not to worry. A voice is heard. It's the greatest demon hunter in history. He defeats the strong and protects the weak. He is Mitsuya. He says he was ordered to take the mermaid because she belongs to another species. The hunters don't recognize him and ask what division he's from. He replies he's from the Special Disposal Unit and can't disclose more. He asks them to release his companions. He only wants to ask the mermaid a few questions and then let her go. Isaac releases the girl's companions and they all teleport. Data informs them that the report has already been sent to Raven. Satsuki punches Mitsuya. Nangu comments that he was terrified but managed to fool the hunter. He thought it was the end. Satsuki approaches and kicks him, asking what he's doing there. Everyone is surprised to discover they're siblings. Back home, Mitsuya comments that the beautiful girl is the sister of the impressive demon hunter. She replies that it only brings her misfortune and squeezes him with a pair of crab pincers. Satsuki asks her brother if he's following her again. He apologizes, saying he's failed as a brother. Satsuki replies that that's not the problem. Yoshihito tells her not to get mad, but she responds that he wouldn't understand. He always follows her without her noticing, in the sea, in a well, while she's exploring. He tries to excuse himself by saying he was protecting her, but she answers that he's the real danger. Her brother insists that he saved her from the demon hunters. She thanks him, but asks him to stop following her. Yoshihito asks if that means he's also a mermaid, but Mitsuya clarifies that their father was a demon hunter and their mother a mermaid. Vivien is surprised, since demon hunters are supposed to hate fantastical beings. Satsuki mentions that their parents disappeared suddenly, and her travels have been to find them. Vivien regrets having asked something so insensitive. Nangu says he's surprised they're fantastical beings and asks what they were doing in England. Yoshihito explains that he's the owner of the house and rents rooms to homeless fantastical beings. They went to England to receive Isaac. Yoshihito asks if huskies count as werewolves. Lily gets sad, thinking she was a wolf. Vivien suggests running a test. She tells her to stand up and then bites her neck. Vivien clarifies it was just a blood test, but everyone misunderstood. She announces that Lily is not just a husky, but also part Pekingese. She confirms 0% wolf, and so the usual fighting begins. The doorbell rings. The brothers panic when they realize Mitsuya is a demon hunter. He gets upset and says they shouldn't fight just because he's a friend. Isaac stops them. In the end, they apologize for fighting. Yoshihito explains that Mitsuya is his friend, even if he's a demon hunter. The brothers don't trust him and say he doesn't even seem like one. They insist everyone should join them for the prophecy. Vivien gets tired of hearing so many similar stories. Ewan says that sooner or later the demon hunters will attack and asks if they want their human involved in that. Vivien assures them they're strong enough to face them, as they already proved. Mitsuya says it's an awkward conversation for a demon hunter. Kasan tries to bribe them with a gold bar. Suddenly the power goes out, but no one notices an enemy presence. It turns out the services were cut because Yoshihito hadn't paid the bills. They ask if he hasn't been paid, but he replies, yes, just not enough to support 5 people. He then tells Vivien she hasn't paid rent either. Yoshihito asks them for financial help, but no one has money, so he decides to go rest. The brothers insist they should come with them, since it's impossible for humans and fantastical beings to live together. Lily says it doesn't matter. They'll figure it out together, and proposes working as a team. Everyone agrees. The next day, no one is home. There's also no water. Yoshihito asks Data to teleport him. Lily is working as a waitress at a dog-themed restaurant. She sees a sad man and offers him comfort with a puppy. Vivien watches her from the window and feels proud, but also says she can't let herself fall behind. Meanwhile, Satsuki is singing in the park while Mitsuya tries to dig through a mountain using gold. Raven says she's not anyone's mother and asks if the egg has hatched yet. Yoshihito asks her for a raise since he can't make ends meet. Raven agrees since, after all, he managed to calm the battle that was about to erupt the night before. Yoshihito asks what happened to the huntresses. Raven replies that they're under her jurisdiction now and she won't let them cause trouble. Lolito comments that upon hearing the prophecy, he realized it sounded similar to something written on the tablet he brought from the dream dimension. Raven explains that most fantastical beings on Earth actually came from there. He asks why she never told him that, and Raven replies that it wouldn't have helped if he hadn't discovered it himself. Meanwhile, Isaac is working as a lumberjack. He suggests destroying everything again, but Vivien stops him and tells him to quit trying to solve everything with meteorites. They both meet up with Satsuki. who suggests that if they want to make a lot of money quickly, they should use their powers as fantastical beings. They decide to search for hidden treasures in the sea. Isaac asks about Lily, and Vivien replies that she can work like a human, unlike them. Yoshihito asks, why did the fantastical beings come to Earth? Raven replies that even if he knew the whole truth, he wouldn't be able to bring peace between fantastical beings and demon hunters right now. Even if they reached an agreement, the cycle would just repeat itself. If he's worried about being attacked, she says she can protect him and his friends. Yoshihito says it's true that both the fantastical beings and the demon hunters are clumsy and annoying. But if there's something he can do to bring peace, even just a little, he wants to try. He just wants to help. He says it'd be nice if more couples like Satsuki's parents existed. Raven then sends him to investigate until he's satisfied. She warns that it might have effects on his body. He asks if she's referring to his ability to cancel magic, since lately it's been drawing his attention. Raven asks him to write a report on how it's affecting him right now, since that's part of his job. Yoshihito arrives home and notices the power is back on. Everyone is gathered, and they tell him they managed to get the money to pay the rent. Lily gives him a cake, saying she had always wanted to make one to thank them, since they always cook for her. She learned how at work. They enjoy a big feast. However, the stove in the kitchen is left on. Yoshihito tells them that his next mission will be in the dream world. Satsuki asks him to try to find a clue about her parents, if possible. One by one, they all express their desire to go with him. Yoshihito admits he had already thought about taking them all. Then, he asks about the egg, since they haven't seen it in a while. When they get to the kitchen, they find Lily boiling it. At that moment, the egg cracks open, leaving us in suspense about what will happen next. And thus ends this magical story about an ordinary human who grows stronger amidst adversity, sharing strange and delightful moments with his friends, who happen to be fantastical beings. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe. And while you're down there, leave a like and a comment to motivate me to keep making more summaries.